What we want to do first is check for contamination, subfloor prep. We actually teamed up with Malish. They are the creator of this tool. It's called the Diamond Brush. It attaches to any buffer that you already have. There are different riser kits to fit the housing on all of your buffers. So no difference. Everybody's pretty much got a 16-inch buffer. You can go ahead and attach this on. What it is they're just diamond plated paddles that are actually going to be on a flat surface, and they're actually going to help you scuff up floors. So it's going to help you remove residues like this. It's a power trowel concrete that's a little too shiny. You have a lot of paint overspray, something like that. Honestly, just go right in, put it on top of the buffer, and just kind of scuff it up a little bit. We're not really looking to remove everything off of the floor. All you want to do is open up the pores of that concrete a little for that moisture barrier to go ahead and penetrate down into it. One coat of this goes about 1,000 square feet on concrete. It's going to block 90% RH at one coat, 12 pounds on the calcium chloride test. A second coat application on concrete is good up to 98% RH, 18 pounds on the calcium chloride. We'll even approve it in high moisture readings of even 99% RH. If you're constantly getting I-99 with a probe test, then kind of give us a call. We'll send out a rep to go ahead and check the drainage, see what the conditions are of the job site, if we feel comfortable giving you that warranty on a 99% RH. It is bound to our 10-year warranty. So in the 19 years now that PU280 has been on the market in over 60 countries, we've had absolutely zero claims on it as far as a moisture barrier. So it has never failed on moisture. Great advantage of it is it goes on super fast. You're gluing to it within 45 minutes to an hour. You can put multiple coats on in the same day and still glue to it. It also works on plywood and OSB as one coat. So if you have very high moisture in your plywood and you're trying to install a hardwood floor, you're not within 2 to 3 points of that median number, NWFA says do not install the floors. So especially on wide plank floors. So this gives you the option of rolling out your entire subfloor, going ahead and nailing right through it if you're doing strip flooring, glue and nail assist on wider planks without any worries about the moisture coming up. You're not going to pierce through it enough for that moisture to come through. It's still going to allow a little bit of the natural moisture, similar to aquaboard paper, except it's a fully enclosed system. You're sealed from wall to wall. There are no gaps, there are no seams. If you've ever ripped a paper during installation, we know, we've done it. You rip out the piece of paper, you put the wood in, right? Because it's easier to nail down. Now with NWFA kind of stating that they're suggesting some type of moisture barrier when you're doing wide glue and nail assist. Anything above 5 inches, they are recommending you use some type of liquid moisture barrier. Why? Because now you can't have paper, and the adhesive most of the time, every 6 to 8 inch bead or just an S pattern, it still leaves that wood exposed to a lot of moisture. This will take care of all of that. I have guys going on 20% plywood and installing the wood that day. We're not worried about it. As long as it's not above 25%, then you're fine to apply the moisture barrier. Once you get past that 25%, you're pretty much competing with rot and mold. And the American Plywood Association says anything at 25%, you pretty much need to replace the plywood. It's actually, you could actually fall through. So anything up to about the 20-22 mark, put one coat down and you're installing your wood that same day. The only stipulation is if you are gluing to it, it has to be within 72 hours of application. So as soon as it dries, we put on the second application, you wait an hour, it's dry to the touch, you can go ahead and start gluing to it. Try not to extend yourself if you can't install that area in 3 days. The great thing about it is I can set up my first 1,000 square feet, install that in 3 days before I go home for the night. Put 2 coats down, let it dry overnight, I'm ready for the next 3 days of installation. So you can pretty much scale out your whole job and do 5, 6, 7,000 square feet and just kind of prep it right before you go. So it saves a lot of guys. But the thing is, moisture testing. If you're doing on concrete, a regular Tramex topical moisture meter does not do anything. It will not hold up in court. All you're doing is finding hot spots. So we really would prefer to do either a calcium chloride test or the in situ probe, where you drill the hole in, you put the little meter in, and you get a reading of what's actually happening inside the concrete. If it does ever come to court or litigation or something like that, and you can't provide the numbers, I cannot help you. That 10-year warranty will not do anything for you. So in order for us to be able to assist you in that, yeah, you got to have some kind of proof. If you're not going to do any testing, which I never did as a contractor myself, all we say is pretty much if you're not standing in water, or you do not see water seeping up in the concrete, just put 2 coats down and glue. So, but again, it's not really for us, for me, it's for you guys to try to watch out after you. Yeah, they get a little pricey, but honestly, that couple $100 investment sometimes can save you thousands in the long run. So it does help to have those moisture readings. So now the application, again, super easy. It comes in a 2.5 gallon container. It'll go about 400 square feet a gallon on concrete. You get probably closer to 700 to 800 square feet out of the entire unit on plywood, depending on how old it is, how wet it is. The more moisture, the more open it is. Obviously, it's going to be a little more porous. This is a zero VOC product, so you don't have to worry about any VOCs, anything off-gassing. It's just a regular polyurethane moisture barrier. Now, it does have to penetrate. So again, you want to remove all that latex paint. You don't want to grab all that stuff underneath it. Another great feature of it, it encapsulates black mastic and cutback adhesives. So all you have to do is scrape whatever's loose off the surface. You don't even really have to bother grinding all that out, because sometimes it can have asbestos and stuff in it. You kind of want to have to watch out with that. But you could just go ahead and coat right over it with 2 coats, and then you can go ahead and glue it, and you will not have any migration of any of those solvents. You can even go over old urethane adhesives. If they're just stuck to the ground too good and you don't have the budget to scrape all of it, just go right over it. Then you can do some kind of patching over that real quick and then install your floor, or just put more adhesive depending on how thick it is. It pours out pretty easily, so it's this blue kind of liquid, so you can actually see it pretty easily. Now, multiple ways of doing it. You can pour it directly onto the floor and roll it out. You can go ahead and pour it into a bucket. Some guys like using paint trays. Whatever you're comfortable with, it's not really that big of a deal. The key is thin. We're applying this about 400 square feet out of a gallon. So you'll notice that you're almost wanting to squeeze it out. I'm not going to tell you to buy one of my rollers. My roller costs $11. You're going to throw it away after every single one of these. If once this sits for about an hour, half hour, unless you wrap it up super tight in plastic, it's going to be hard as a rock. So go buy cheap ones, Home Depot, here, wherever you want to do. Go buy a $3-4 roller instead of spending $11. So, really simple. Just dip it in and get your roller wet, and literally just apply it to the floor. And this is kind of the action you want to do. You almost want to squeeze it out. You don't want to do puddles. You don't want really thick wet spots. All you're trying to do is just move it into some of the dry areas. And one more little dip and that's it. We say 1,000 feet out of a bucket at 20 cents a square foot. That's what you're doing. So on concrete, you got maximum 2 coats, cost you about 40 cents a square foot. On plywood, you're doing 1 coat, running you about a quarter. So 1, you get bound by your 10-year warranty. 2, you're pretty much set that no moisture is going to come through that floor and affect your flooring. So especially if you're working on the water or something like that, there's always residual moisture in that plywood. I don't care how new it is. Most of that plywood's sitting outside in a lumber yard before they go ahead and install it. The roof hasn't been on for 3 months. Where's all that water got to go? It's going to go in somewhere. It can also be used on plywood, I said, in OSB. Concrete as well. I mean, concrete, when they say it's a 30-year-old concrete on the 50th floor of a high-rise, that makes no difference. That concrete came to equilibrium 20 years ago. If it wants to come back to 95, it's going to come back to 95 every single time. So also watch when you're doing your tests. I'm doing my test right now in the winter. It's super dry. Yeah, I could be getting 85% RH, 87. You also got to understand there's a plus or minus 3 on most of those meters. So you could be closer to that 90. If I'm close to 90% and I'm doing only 1 coat, you're almost at the limit of that product. So it's almost at the cap. So now if you do get a huge rainstorm in the summer, that concrete can go back up to 93. So that's why when you're on that fringe, kind of 85, 87, I'm just going to say just put the 2nd coat down. When you put your 1st coat on, go north and south. Try to go east and west with your 2nd one just to make sure that you have full coverage. And that's pretty much it. You're just applying it, letting it soak in, and then we're gluing to this in about 45 minutes to an hour. As soon as it's dry to the touch, you can get back on it. So now when it's super humid, this might set up in only 20 minutes, 25 minutes. You can also go, like I said, on plywood. So you could do OSB, Advantech, OSB plywood. We don't really want particle board, just because particle board isn't really meant for flooring. So we won't recommend it on that, but it will work on all OSB. We have it actually approved on top of Advantech already. So Again, super easy, simple. And that's about how thin you're going. So I mean, you could get 1,000 square feet in, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes with this stuff. Wait an hour, do a second coat, go home. Your job is ready for another 3 days of installation. So you can nail right through that, glue with it. Like I said, just try to keep it within that 72-hour frame. If you happen to go past it for some reason, like some job sites, we'll get in and we'll seal the entire plywood before they're even sheetrocking, before all the mud work comes in, so all that moisture doesn't get into the plywood. Come back 2-3 months later, hit it with a 60 grit screen, apply another coat, and you're gluing and nailing right to it. If you're just nailing, just clean it up. All the compound dust, any moisture that sits on top is just going to sit there. It's not going to go ahead and soak through. So cleaning your job site is that much easier. You don't have to worry about contaminants being on top of there to mess up with your glue. Now we will recommend our adhesives on top of it. Now we make, as I said, MS adhesives, so they're going to be a polymer, slightly different technology than polyurethane. They don't expand, longer lifespan, easier to work with. Again, zero VOC. So we can go 4-inch, 8-inch, unlimited width of solid directly to concrete. So depending, the higher the number, the stronger the adhesive. So most of our adhesives are in 3-gallon buckets. They go about 200 square feet per bucket. So you're getting 60, 70 square feet per gallon pretty much consistently every time. You seal that plywood off, and now you're getting a lot more out of that. With the glue and nail down, ultra small trowel, 1/16 of an inch, V-notch, you're pulling 250 square feet out of the bucket. Because all you need is that little tiny adhesive on a full trowel. We also make sausages as well, similar to it. So same technology. The sausages that are actually on the table right there, they're approved for up to an 8-inch solid on concrete. So no limitations on engineering. You can go as wide as you want with the engineers. The reason I say why we approve ours, somebody's going to ask me, well, can I put Bostic's Best on top of this? Most likely, probably yes. But I can no longer give you a bond warranty. Why? In extreme conditions like today, if it's super dry, Bostic and other moisture curing urethanes need moisture. If there's not enough moisture allowed because the PU280 took it all, your adhesive's not going to set up. Our insurance company says that your warranty will be voided if you use another adhesive on top of the moisture barrier. Will it work? Most likely it will. Urethane sticks to almost everything, but we have seen one failure where it was super dry and the moisture cured urethane never cured, and 3 days later the boards were still pulling off because the PU280 will win every time on moisture. So try to stick with the system. It's meant we can test ours. We can't test everybody else's adhesive all the time when other changes come through it. So that's the system that is going. Honestly, we call it liquid gold for the PU280. I mean, we built it into all of our prices when I was a contractor. It was just part of the installation, be it on concrete or plywood. It was just built in just so I could sleep at night knowing that my floors aren't going to blow up in a week or two after installation.